Does this settlement today, does this sort of put to rest all of the regulatory issues in the U.S. for Facebook?
No, I don't think that it does. This is certainly one of the biggest regulatory battles they've been going through, and one that we've been watching closely. Of course, $5 billion is not small, but for someone like Facebook who had $56 billion in revenue last year, it's also not crippling or super dramatic, but they are still, facing a number of different issues with other regulatory bodies. We obviously know that they're trying to launch a cryptocurrency right now that's under heavy scrutiny. So while I think this is certainly a major hurdle that has been kind of in the way for them for some time, I don't think this is the end of the road.
It kind of reminds me, Kurt, of the banks in the wake of the financial crisis, in which legal costs and various settlements with different regulatory bodies essentially just became a permanent cost of doing business for quarter after quarter, year after year, dealing with the cleanup. Is that kind of the future that big tech is facing in the U.S., Europe, and not just Facebook, but many of these players?
Yeah, I believe that there is a belief, I think, that these companies have kind of run unchecked for such a long time that there's a lot of catching up to be done on the regulatory side. And so when you look at the size of a Facebook or an Amazon or a Google, I mean, they just touch on so many people and so many different aspects of people's lives that it really is a never-ending conversation when it comes to regulating what they can and cannot do. And I think with Facebook in particular, you look at the amount of private information and personal information they have on citizens, not only in the U.S. but globally. I don't think this conversation is going to end anytime soon.
Kurt, another insight that we learned today was that the Facebook board could be given oversight of privacy. Point simply, the Facebook board is Mark Zuckerberg himself, right? So if Mark Zuckerberg hasn't proven up until this point that he can help with privacy issues, what makes us think that a Facebook board going forward would be any different?
Not a whole lot, really. I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head there. Mark Zuckerberg is he has the controlling votes for the board. I think he has close to 60% of the voting power at Facebook. And so while there certainly is a board, it has yet, at least for the company's existence thus far, really mattered who's on the board beyond Mark himself. And so I do think that when you look at privacy, there's going to be a lot of people who have issues with the idea that this is a board-directed control because, as you pointed out, the board is really Mark Zuckerberg.